is taking place on the mostly unceded territory of 10 Nuu-chah-nulth nations here in the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District. So we have an agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Can you do the under the call to order on the agenda? There's a couple of things just to read out there for informational sake before you go on to the approval of the agenda. It's just for people that might be watching that might have questions of how to log their questions.
So anybody who might be watching, the meeting was being recorded and live streamed to YouTube on the Regional District website. And if the question and answer section in the Zoom is monitored and questions are read aloud during the question period at the end of the meeting. For those watching on YouTube, you can direct comments or questions to responses@acrd.bc.ca, and those will be read aloud during the question period at the end of the meeting. Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda then? Anna, and do we have a seconder? Tanya, all in favor? Awesome. And you also would have received the minutes. And are there any comments on the minutes or any feedback? And then can we have a motion that the minutes of the meeting held on January 3rd, 2024 be adopted? Bob, thank you. Anna, second. All in favor? Great. Okay, so the next item is we have a Paul Eichelberger. Paulo Eichelberger, the solid waste manager from the ACRD in the organics diversion compost, is going to give us a presentation here.
I am here to give Paulo's regrets. He's actually not even at work today due to some extenuating circumstances. So he did, though, forward me some notes that I can relay on his behalf. Basically, just for the committee's background, I had invited Paulo to give an update on the organics diversion program in the Alberni Valley, which produces compost with residential organics that is curbside pickup. And this is a topic that's of some interest out on the West Coast because it's soil amendments out there. Soil in general is hard to come by. Soil amendments are hard to come by. And so the organics diversion that was started out on the West Coast was viewed as a really important way to produce soil. You mix it with the native soil that's out there, and you can actually amend your soil into something that could potentially grow crops. And so in the interest of keeping you guys updated as well, I thought it might be nice for Paulo to give an update on the Alberni Valley program, the same that he's going to be giving an update in April to the Coastal Agricultural Roundtable on the West Coast. So I'm just going to read out some notes that he sent me, and then I'll take any question. I can't promise I can answer any questions that you have, but I'll certainly take questions and I can get answers out afterwards if anyone has any questions. So in the Alberni Valley, organics diversion began in 2021, and it's been collected by Earth, Land, and Sea in partnership with the ACRD since then. Organics have been processed for the last 2 years, while fish waste was recently added at the end of 2022. The process is that approximately 9,200 tons of organics has been collected since 2021, roughly 2/3 from the city curbside program, like food scraps and yard waste, and 1/3 from private hauling. So food scraps, yard waste, and fish waste. All material is processed into Class A compost, although Earth, Land, and Sea maintains 2 compost streams for sale, organics compost and fish waste compost. So they do separate them out. All organic material is processed through a coarse screener, which is 5/8 of an inch in wet months, and a fine screener, 3/8 of an inch in dry months. This is done to break down the large pieces, speed up the composting process, and generate a finer particle material, which can be used by customers to amend their existing soil to boost growth. Finer material is typically windrowed under cover and aerated to provide consistent temperatures between 55 and 75 degrees Celsius to ensure no pathogens remain. The process takes 6 to 8 weeks to turn around and generate the final product, although this can be affected by weather. He wanted to add in a quick note on compost, never, ever, ever to use it as a 100% soil replacement. It is not a soil replacement, it is a soil amendment. So using it as pure soil will not produce good plants or healthy plants. It's meant to be mixed with your soil as an amendment to boost nutrients and organic matter. Compost quality testing is done by Earth, Land, and Sea at an accredited lab. Typically, the quality is tested to ensure no heavy metals, organic pollutants, or pathogens such as fecal coliforms or salmonella are present. How much is annually generated and what's our waste footprint? So annual organics has increased from 2021. It started out at 1,850 tons, and now we're at approximately 4,100 tons. We've increased landfill waste diversion 8%, adding 5 to 7 years of life to our landfill footprint, which is a huge achievement in the landfill business. There's still a large percentage of organics entering the landfill based on a recent waste composition study, and that shows a great opportunity to increase waste diversion further, especially in the commercial sector. So more to come on this program. He didn't have any updates on it, but just so that you know, they are looking at that. And that's one of the focuses of the solid waste management plan update, which is underway right now. And then he just wanted to make a note of where you can purchase it. Class A compost can be purchased at the Earth, Land, and Sea Compost Yard and Gravel Mart for $67 a yard. And that's over on Tebow Ave. Does anybody have any questions? Fred?
Yes, thank you very much. My question is, where can someone drop off material that doesn't have to pay $10 a load now? But you used to be able to drop it off in town at place just below 10th Avenue there, and they shut down about 4 months ago. So right now, if you want to drop off material, you have to pay minimum $10 a load, even if you're a resident of the city or anywhere else. There needs to be a free drop-off option. Or else people are just going to go back to the bush, and all these gains you've had will slowly disappear. Because recently, last month, we went from $5 a load to $10 a load. And frankly, when I go grab my mom's stuff, I take it to my backyard and make it disappear. But most people don't have that option. Thank you.
So need.
Okay. I'll just jump in here because this was a huge controversy when the landfill actually put in, because it used to be free. So being part of the Air Quality Council, it was a huge thing that we instituted at the landfill, was a free drop-off. And then it would have been about 4 or 5 years ago, like I wrote several letters to the ACRD because the solid waste management team implemented a $5 drop-off fee at the landfill. And the whole thing was like, then everybody's dropping in the bush. I live at the end of Hector Road. The crap that gets dumped down, like I see people dropping off stuff. I've reported them. I've taken their license plate. Like it's ridiculous. And to hear that it's gone up even more. Yeah. And I mean, I did the organics rollout. I was the education person. So it put me in a very interesting position. But yeah, no, it needs to be free. And Fred, you're the ACRD electoral person. So that's awesome. Bring it up and push for it to go back that way. But
I'm pushing for it. I just need help from other directors to fight back. But it's a huge cost increases. The bags fee in the last month also went up 67%. You're going to see more bags in the bush too.
I'm well aware, and you'll have some good head bonking with Jenny on it. I did.
I just had an update actually, I just had an update through admin that they spoke with Jenny, and she said you can drop for free at landfill and Earth, Land, and Sea. So I will look into that and provide an update for next meeting, if that works, and get the
That would
straight
be-
story on it.
That'd be really good because I know if you drop off at the landfill right now, it's $10. So let's clarify that because
Yep.
everyone is very upset. Thank you.
Sounds good. Anything
I-
else?
Well,
Question?
I have dropped off on Tebow. I guess that's the Earthland and
Yeah.
Sea spot, and I've dropped off stuff there for free, like yard waste. Not this year, last year or the year before.
Yeah.
So
I'll clarify between the two. I'll check with both landfill
So-
side and
so-
Earthland and Sea.
So here's why I'm bringing it up. You used to be able to drop off at just behind Dolan's at Berrien Vale there.
Yeah.
And they stopped about 4 months ago and they don't have signs up to not go there. So I actually dumped a load and got yelled at by the owner. What I'm saying is it needs to be very obvious if you can dump somewhere else and have that very public because it needs to be obvious or people will not use it. Thank you.
Be obvious on site and then also advertised if it is free, like online. Oh, Helen?
I just have a question. I'm sorry, I'm sick. I was late. I apologize. Fred, were you? I'm on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. So, are you saying like disposing of fish waste or plant waste?
Just yard waste from cleaning up your yard. Pruning
Okay,
your
so-
trees, where are you gonna dump that? If you live in the city or somewhere, you need somewhere to put it. Since the city and the ACRD are very well entwined with the land waste or landfill and all that kind of stuff, it needs to be a valley-wide solution that everyone knows about and is very obvious. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert, and I know Amy will find out for sure. From my understanding, is it's free as well. You can dump your yard clippings and all that for free at that Land and Sea or at the
It's not free at the dump.
But if you're dumping garbage as a fee, but I didn't think maybe it's
If
at
you
the,
dump yard clippings at the Sort and Go landfill center, you pay $5 last year, $10 this year.
okay. So you know if you've done that, I'll
I've had to
check.
pay the fee and I think it should disappear.
Okay, well, I'm on your side, so I'm just going to bring it up at the committee. I was just wanting to understand better. Thank you.
No problem. Appreciate the confirmation.
Amy, I have a question just about the West Coast, and I know this from the work with the Coastal Roundtable and the Coastal Addendum. Is there a timeline for when that compost is going to be finished? And then what's been requested out there is that there's a program for distributing the finished product to people who are using it to grow food. And there's some organizations who are willing to like coordinate like a drop off and pick up kind of event. So I'm just wondering if there's any more info on that.
I've already confirmed with Paolo that he's going to be presenting at the April 3rd meeting that we're having. And so he's going to have an update then. But I know that they're working on their curing loads right now, and they're working on a distribution program as well.
Awesome.
Just for clarification, I'll just jump in again here. I just looked up the ACRD tipping fees at the Sort and Go landfill center in Pearl Barney, and it's $10 a load for residential branches. So that is in effect right now. Thank you.
I'll just sorry. I know when I get sorry, I didn't mean to take this over. When I get my information from the city, they do local, like if you have a lot of waste, they'll come to your home and pick it up. I've seen that advertised. So that's another alternative, is it not?
That
I can get clarification on the Fire Smart one too.
Yeah, and that's only if you don't have a vehicle, and like it's meant for people that don't have the ability to get out to the landfill.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was 4 or 5 years ago that they instituted the tipping fees for green waste. And you know, if you want letters and stuff that have the air quality perspective, or reach out to the new air quality coordinator, because he has all that. You know, I did presentations to the ACRD about this, so.
Okay, so I'm going to be clarifying the Sort and Go, Earthland and Sea. And I'll also get the details on the Fire Smart drop off if there is like limitations and stuff like that. May as well lay it all out, because then everyone will have like the full programs. Anything else?
I guess just the last thing, thinking about that topic on the coast and distributing it to people who are growing food, then I'm wondering if there's going to be something matching in the Alberni Valley just for if that kind of thing is being developed, if there's organizations who want to use this compost, say like community gardens and things like that, whether that could be accessible there as well.
10% is set aside for city initiatives. So probably best to go through the city and access their 10% if you wanted it, say, for Dry Creek Community Garden or something like that. If they're not actively using it for a city new park or new beds or something that they're making, then the 10% should still be available through them. And that'd be a good partnership for food production.
Thanks, Amy. Are there any other comments or questions for Paulo to pass along? Okay, moving on then to correspondence for information. And we have the Alberni Valley Food Security Society 2023 Impact Report. Anna.
Well, most of the information's all in the impact report. So I don't know if there's a lot to say. I mean, we had the CD Saturday event was on the 10th, and that was a 34% increase of people that went through the site. We had, I think, 688 people went through. We had the speakers component, considerable success. All the vendors were super happy. We had 27 different vendors, other than the ones that were at the front of Echo Center, because this year we had people coming in through the library, which didn't happen last year. And so the flow of traffic was a bit different. So that's something that we'll need to address. Yeah, made a little bit of money after everything's said and done. Byron just sent me the report this morning, the final financials and everything. So yeah, I think it was a resounding success. I was not there. I did a bunch of the organizing and I'm writing all the reports, but from what I've heard from most people, they were pretty pleased with how the event unfolded. And yeah, we've just got lots of different projects on the go. I know I'm always being told I need to you know, not get too excited and go all out on different things, because that's my tendency. I'm just like, well, let's just do it. But I've been informed that's not how these things work. Anyway, ways we have started our prune along program. I think the first one should have happened yesterday. So that's we've got a pruner that goes onto someone's site that has some trees and actually spends 2 hours teaching them how to prune their trees and making a specific plan with them. So that is super exciting to have that started off. So we base that off Lush's Prune Along program. They're very happy to just, you know, my idea of R&D is rip off and duplicate. And they're like, yeah, go for it. Awesome. So that's what I did. And that's going along. We've got a pruning workshop coming up. I do believe it's March the 10th for 3 hours in the afternoon. That, you know, there's a small fee for it, but I can send that info out or to Amy, and she can share the date. And yeah, there's lots of good things on the go. I'm super excited. We did get a nice little grant and aid from the ACRD. So thank you, ACRD, and that will be put to good use. And we're really trying to figure out ways to overhaul our gleaning program for this upcoming season. So there's going to be a fair bit of energy that will be exerted into that. And hopefully I get 2 summer students that will be the ultimate little, you know, fruit pickers and community garden expanders. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think that's it. I don't know if people have questions around the impact report, if they actually saw it. It was kind of fun to put it together and be like, holy, not bad for our my 40 hours a month. Like we're doing good things in the community. So super stoked about it. But yeah, any
Awesome.
questions?
Thanks, Anna. The little report in there also. I'll just say that, like, for anyone in doing that kind of work or organizations, the impact reports are really, really helpful in kind of sharing the work that folks are doing and getting things like grants, and makes it helpful for someone like me who's kind of like trying to report on different things that are going around in the community. So yeah, well done. Nice and simple and clear. Anyone else have any questions or comments about that report? And there's also correspondence there about the sooty bark disease on Vancouver Island and the whirling disease in BC. And I'll just ask maybe Amy or Tom if either of you have any comments or a brief summary on that you want to share. Otherwise,
yeah, I actually put it on purpose here just so that I could talk about some things that might not necessarily come across people's desks as an agricultural issue, but because this used to be my work, is like invasive pests and diseases in urban forests. You're going to hear it from me. So the sooty bark disease, give it a read in the agenda if you haven't, because it's actually a disease that's affecting a species in the urban forest. That the reason that I added it to the agenda is because they're currently assessing whether or not it can jump to our native maple species. So the vine maple and the big leaf maple. And because there's places such as Shannon Farms that tap our native maples for our maple syrup, it does have the potential to affect local agriculture, even though this is something that's happening in an urban perspective to the urban forest. So I wanted to bring it up just to, in case you hadn't seen it. And then the whirling disease, I don't have an update. I included it because it was not good that it has been confirmed. I don't know if Tom has any updates on spread or whether or not they actually killed all the fish in that lake to try and get a handle on it, or anything like that. But I just wanted to include it so that people knew, and it can significantly affect salmon as well. So Tom, do you have any updates on that?
No update on that. I did send out something last week related but different, which is the chronic wasting disease report from the Interior, and encouraging people to report any symptomatic animals to the conservation officer or the RAPS line. But I haven't heard anything more about the whirling disease. Sorry.
Yeah. I saw the chronic wasting disease. It was too late to get it on the agenda, but I did want to just speak briefly maybe on it. It was confirmed in 2 deer in the Interior, in the Kootenays. Is that correct? And the update that from the agricultural perspective is that it's not, it doesn't generally jump to livestock. Maybe Patty can comment on that. But they just wanted, like Tom said, they just wanted, they kind of listed the symptoms there, and please report any cervids, which is deer and elk and things like that, that are showing any of these symptoms, and try and keep your hay secure so you're not attracting deer and elk and things like that to your farmyard. So things are happening. Hopefully that goes away.
I'll just say that it would have been about 1.5 years ago that on my family farm, which is at the base of the, like the very end of Beaver Creek, base of the Beaufort, we did have a deer that passed away, and it was on Global News, and it did have, they said, chronic wasting disease. Because my mom's partner at the time found it, and yeah, that was quite a while ago. So it's here as well.
All right, thank you all. Can we have a motion that the ADC accept the reports for information? All right, Helen, thank you. And do we have a seconder? Bob, thank you. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll move on to reports. And Jen, I just saw your note. Jen has to leave at 10, so I'm going to take the executive decision to move Jen up first. If you want to go ahead, if you have a report from the Nachalmouth Tribal Council, Jen. If she is present. And she may be on the phone call or something like that. All right, we'll go to Amy, and Jen, if you get a chance to pop in, we can interrupt. Go ahead, Amy.
I will happily stop talking if Jen comes back on and wants to give her report. Okay, so the Coles notes of my report are kind of in the agenda, but there was a question last meeting regarding why we bring the minutes of our meetings back to the Agricultural Development Committee when they're already adopted by the board. The clarification from our admin manager is that the board just receives them for information. They don't adopt them. So they come back to the ADC for actual adoption. If there are changes at the time that the ADC is adopting them, they can adopt them then as amended. Our wonderful admin person, Kristen, will then make a note of what needs to be changed in the minutes. She'll make the change later, upload the correct copy to the website, and have that copy signed, because we do have minutes signed. So apparently the practice got a little bit lost and muddled over the years, and they're like bringing it back to the proper procedure through the bylaw. Any questions on that? Does that make
Thanks,
sense?
Amy. That makes it easy. So I will ask if anyone has any amendments.
Yeah, and then we can adopt them as
Got it.
amended, and then Kristen will take care of all the changes. So
Great.
great news. The North Island College Meat Processing Fundamentals course starts today at North Island College. 8 students enrolled, a full class with a waiting list. So that was an awesome initiative that we tried to get going again, because the demand for meat processing people has not slowed. There's openings all over the place, all over Central Island for meat processing folks. And so I was super excited that we managed to fill the class and have a waiting list for that. So that is set to go until March 28th, from today till March 28th. Tanya?
Yeah, thank you. I've got my video turned off because I'm folding laundry, but I just wanted to add to the meat cutting course because Dave is teaching it again. He said they actually got 2 grants, so they're running it in Port Alberni and on the north end of the island right now too, which is great that there's 2 on the island. I just want to have that comment. That's it.
It was pretty awesome. Super exciting. So he's got Dave is the main instructor for the course, and he's actually got people helping him with instructing so that he can be in both locations kind of at once to make sure that everything gets covered in both locations. So the Islands Ag Show was on February 2nd and 3rd in Duncan, and I attended that on behalf of the ACRD to promote agriculture and the 7,700 hectares of ALR land that we have in the Alberni Valley. As well as all of our marine and aquaculture initiatives that we have on the West Coast and here in town. Great connections with event organizers. I hadn't met the organizers of the event before, and so I managed to connect with them and talk about just organizing such a large event that encompasses such a huge portion of the island. Also with like AgriService BC, saw Tom there. It was good to see him. The BC Institute of Agrologists was there. Investment Agriculture Foundation was there. I got to speak with them. Country Life in BC was there, VIU, NIC. It was great. There was so many people there that was really great to make connections with. I generally use my door prize draw entries as a rudimentary metric for engagement, because people generally don't, unless they're kids. You can always count on kids to enter every draw they can get their hands on, but generally adults don't enter draws unless you engage with them. And so I had 53 entrants on Friday and 41 entrants on Saturday. Saturday was actually quite slow because it was sunny out, and a lot of people, I think, were out enjoying the sun instead of coming to the Islands Ag Show. But there were tons of people that I spoke with that didn't enter the draw because they were from the Lower Mainland or something like that. Like they didn't want to enter. Some people just don't like entering draws, but there was tons of people to talk to that walked by, and they're all quite interested in the ACRD once we started talking about just potential for agriculture and the amount of land that is in the Alberni Valley that hasn't been so oversubscribed like they're finding on the east side of the island. I had multiple comments regarding the how intriguing it was that there was actually a regional district staff person that to focus on agricultural and food security initiatives. So I had questions on like, how do we get this for RRD? I had people from like the regional district of Nanaimo and things like that. Like, how do we get someone on the regional district staff that can focus on this stuff? So it was really interesting to speak to people on that. And many thanks to volunteers I had that stopped by the booth so I could go for lunch on the Friday. I really appreciate it. It was, overall, it was great, and I was happy to have it. And the person who won the door prize draw was super stoked. So that was great to get some local products in the hands of people across the hump. Any questions on that?
Curious if you attended any sessions and what you thought of the content of the program. No, you were at the booth
No,
the whole time.
I was at the booth the whole time. I had to work it the whole time, so I didn't get a chance to. There was feedback from people on the sessions that were really good. The one that got mentioned the most to me was there was a session on planting hedgerows and the importance of biodiversity in hedgerows and how to plant a hedgerow to pollinator support, bird support, feed wildlife, that kind of thing. And I had multiple people that commented that they literally came to see that session and that it was great. So that was about the only feedback is secondhand. Sorry.
Amy, I'm curious if I know you weren't there last year, and Tom, I think you maybe were, but last year it was not very busy, and I kind of relatively to the past years, or that's what we found, and it seemed like there were fewer booths. I'm just curious if you heard whether, was it busier again this year? Was there more engagement at the show?
Can't speak to the trade show, but the sessions were standing room only.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
We had good turnout. I think the trade show was more subscribed than last year. Last year there were sort of two shows, one in July and then the following one in the winter. So that may have impacted people's decision on the trade show.
Awesome.
I can't speak to the busyness because, like you said, I wasn't there for the previous one, but I did have some comments from vendors who do multiple shows. They had come from the one in Abbotsford, which is like the big one, and they said their preference is actually for the Islands one because it seems less frenetic and less overwhelming, and there is actually time to speak to people, and they get way better connection with people than at the Abbotsford one. Is just it's huge, and it's very busy and very sales oriented. There's lots of people there selling agribusiness tools and things like that, whereas the Islands one, they just found better connection with people. They had more time to talk with people. So that's, again, I found it good. I've worked a lot of trade shows across Western Canada, and it was a good one. I liked it. It had a good mix of private sales, vendors, and public entities to get information from. So I really like that mix, and the welcome reception was good. So
yeah, they have the canapes and drink testers and all of that thing, I guess. Amy, the other thing, just I'm not sure where it stands now, but I know they've looked for board members for the Islands Ag Show, and I believe Anne Siddall was on it, and also Pat Deacon. And I don't know if either of them are, but something to keep in mind if you're wanting another task, because then you do get to contribute to all the workshops and that happen at the show as well. And another something to keep in mind is that we did host the show here in 2017. Was pretty successful despite the snow. And if they decide to take it on the road again, then that would be something to look into.
Yeah, I spoke with Sherry, the organizer, and I don't know if they're going to put it on the road again because they took it up to Comox too area, and it's been in Cowichan for a few years, hasn't it, Tom? Yeah. So
I think it's a lot of extra work, but
I'm just making a note here. I'm going to bring, I'll keep an eye out for the call for directors on the board for the Ag Show. And if I can, I'll bring it here in case anyone's interested. I'll pass that along to people. Excuse me. I had an on-farm water workshop on Friday, and it was really well attended, and it was well run. Might be biased because I helped get it going, but we had 16 producers attended, some from as far away as Blackwater and Nanaimo. tons of great information from Ted, who was the speaker on irrigation systems, and he particularly tailored it to the questions that producers had on water storage, so dugouts, and then water licensing. There was a lot of questions on both of those. Bob, you were there. What did you think? I don't know if you can. There he is.
Oh, here I am. Okay. I'm never going to get the hang of this. I thought it was great. Thanks for that. I actually won one of these to measure soil moisture. So I just told the fellow that works for me that he's going to get the job of having a look at that every day this summer. So we'll do that. But definitely we'll be upping our game on irrigation, which is something that we had underway anyway. Now, it turns out Ted, the fellow that put it on, was the guy who designed the system here in 1986. So it's things have changed enough so that a lot of it's redundant now. We have to do some repiping, but it was practical and time well spent. Thank you.
Awesome.
I just have a question. Is this I'm assuming, Tom, you'll know, this is the same workshop that we put on a year and a half ago here in Port Alberni?
That's correct.
Yeah.
He may have
It's
tweaked
with
it a little
Canada.
bit, given, you
Yeah.
know, local interest and so on. But
Yeah, when I saw
was
it, I was
concerned
like,
we
oh,
would,
Ted's
yeah.
coming back. Awesome. So it's the same one.
I was concerned we wouldn't get a good turnout so soon after having it before, but Amy did a great job of promoting it and filled the room.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Just so everyone knows, I'm supposed to be getting a digital, helping Ted out because I'm getting a digital copy of the workbook, the manual, and forwarding it on to some people who couldn't make the workshop and people who didn't get a manual from the Duncan session. And so if anyone here is interested in being on the email list to get that manual because you couldn't attend, just drop your email or let me know in the chat or let me know right now and I'll add you onto my list and then you'll get a copy of it. I'm going to be sending it to, I'm going to be including people in the email list that were signed up. They registered for the water workshop on Friday, but then they ended up, they couldn't make it. So I'll include them as a matter of course, so that they end up getting the manual because they did have an interest and sometimes life happens and you can't attend. So next up, Tom, you'll probably mention this in your update, but there's 2 decoding drought workshops, which focus on the provincial government's drought supports for farmers and how to access them and apply, as well as expected 2024 conditions. So March 5th is in Courtenay, March 6th is in Cowichan, and I am going to drop the link into the chat for registration. If anyone is interested in registering, you just click on the link in the chat and then it'll walk you through, you just find the one that you're interested in and walk you through the registration for that and the rest of the information. Just grant updates. Stop me if you have any questions. Just grant updates, just so you know, the Food Security Emergency Planning Preparedness Grant application. I checked the website, excuse me, the IAF website, and decisions are expected to be made in March. So I'm hoping to have an update on whether or not we got that grant for the March Agricultural Development Committee meeting. And we're hoping to know the RAFBC grant update for the Ag Water Infrastructure top up by the April ADC meeting. So sometimes grant applications take a while to get through. And just so everyone knows, I'm going to be participating in a bioregional food system resiliency study with Kwantlen Polytechnic University for the next few years. So expected to take 3 years to finish the study. What it's seeking to do is modeling a region's food system resiliency, and they have definitions for what they define as food system resiliency. And it can be a useful metric to see how far we've come on our agricultural plan mission of 40% of food produced here consumed locally. That was something in the 2011 agricultural plan for the Alberni Valley, and the update for that plan is expected to start around 2028. And so it's good timing to have this study wrapping up with all of the data that we'll have access to before I start the update for the ag plan in 2028. And if anyone's interested, they have completed, Kwantlen has completed 2 previous studies along the same lines, one for the Lower Mainland and one for the Okanagan region. And they can be found on Kwantlen Polytechnic University's website for the Institute for Sustainable Food Systems. So if you go to their website, you'll see their bioregional food studies there if you're interested in what's going to be going on for the island, and they're doing an island-wide study this time. And last but not least, I just wanted to remind everyone the Extreme Weather Preparedness Grant is open right now through Investment Agriculture Foundation. So the ACRD has our Fire Smart coordinator, Randy, who's awesome, and he does assessments for Fire Smart. And in case you didn't know, the Extreme Weather Preparedness Grant is limited to farm status businesses, but Randy does Fire Smart assessments for all properties, regardless of farm status. So if you are interested, I'm going to drop his email here. It's just firesmart@acrd.bc.ca. Or you can call if you prefer the phone, I'm just dropping the phone number for the ACRD office in there. That's just the general phone number. You just phone there and ask for Randy, and they'll get you through to him to request Fire Smart assessment for your property, and he'll come out. He does free assessment, and it's just, I had one done, even though I'm in the city, I had one done through the fire department, and it's a great process to go through just for knowledge's sake, even if you aren't farm status and you don't qualify for the Extreme Weather Preparedness Grant. I do recommend it. It really opens your eyes to little things that you can do to make a big difference. And then Randy can let you know while he's on site out of all the opportunities that might be coming up or might be there for reimbursement for expenses or branch pickup through the program or anything like that. So definitely want to put a plug in for that. Any questions about anything on my report?
I'm going to tag on a little to the ACRD report, if that's okay with you, Amy. But that's just an update on the systems change project that I'm coordinating. Next Wednesday, the 28th at 1 o'clock, we've got our Zoom call with folks from across the province. So anyone's welcome to join that. And one of the things on the agenda is Amy going to talk about staff positions and how that happened here and tips for others to do. That's something that other regional districts have been really interested in. So I think there'll be a good turnout for that. And then Colin Dring's going to talk about the BC Food Systems Network, which is kind of currently in hiatus, but potentially being revamped. And the reason for that is because the Systems Change Project has actually brought together organizations from across the province to network and learn from each other. And that's not happening elsewhere for food and agricultural organizations working from regional levels. So the BC Food System Network used to do that and could potentially do some of that again once the System Change Project wraps up. And then the other thing that I'll share, which I haven't quite got finished yet, but project for this week and ongoing is something we've talked about before, and that's the resource database and the website updates that'll happen for the ACRD. So kind of a list of what sorts of resources and links that we're going to be posting about resources for agri-food organizations here in the region. Yeah, so that's that. If anyone has questions or wants to attend. And then next up on the agenda is the city, and I don't see Pat here. Is there anyone speaking for Pat today?
He sent his regrets. He's got a grant application he needs to get done by noon. So he's like, I'm sorry, I can't come, but he didn't give me an update. So you can just go ahead.
All right, then SD70, Helen, do you have an update for us?
Hello. Okay. So since the last meeting, we have the school district has adopted, included Black Excellence Day in our annual school district calendar, which will create an ongoing awareness through websites and media posts each year. It's like having, we recognize the Pride Day and so on. So this has also been added. We had the district ran an Indigenous focused non-instructional day on January 22nd, and that was throughout the district, Banfield, West Coast, and Port Alberni, or the Valley. And there were circles also held. It was really cool. I attended. District staff, UP, ADTU, board staff were all invited to attend. It was a good turnout. We had student voice also. So yeah, really great things that are happening there. Budget, we are in the process of passing our amended budget. That will be presented at our next public meeting, which will be held at Wood School on February the 27th. I believe it's 5:30 start. I didn't write that down, but you can find it on the website. The link is there if you'd like to go. It's the Savvy Pacific Rim website. The link is there to join the meeting virtually if you wish as well. Policies, I'm always mentioning we're redoing our policies. Currently, the policy for public consultation, there's 2 of them out, the Jordan's Principle and our environmental stewardship policy. So I'm really excited that that's going to be in policy and we're going to be moving forward with that, hopefully soon. We've also adopted our school trustee code of conduct that was adopted at the last board meeting. That is all I have to report. Thank you very much. If any questions, I'll do my best.
Let's see, Tanya.
Thank you. I have a question on if there is or isn't policy with the school district regarding food in the classrooms from homes or purchased. This comes up because I had a conversation with the school that my kids attend, because on their birthdays they're allowed to bring a treat for their classmates. And then for our school, apparently it's the PAC that set the requirements that it has to come from a VHA approved kitchen. And my daughter was devastated because she wanted to bring maple fudge from the maple syrup on our farm. And my question, I guess, is because products that are low risk at farmers markets they don't have to be prepared in a VHA approved kitchen. You have to have a little note that says it hasn't been. But it just kind of came into my mind where if that's the rules, if it's that strict, I couldn't even shop at a farmer's market if I wanted to buy treats for the kids in the class. So just kind of something to think about, like if we're thinking farm to school and things like that, I just think it's something that might be worth looking into. After I had a chat with some people, I was like, well, it's food that we sell at our markets. And I said, after I explained more how the farmer's market worked, or the markets on our farm, and that, like, yes, I have a food safe. And she goes, well, that's more important to us. And I said, well, maybe it needs to be clearer somewhere. So there's just maybe more opportunity for local products in the classrooms, or opportunities for them to be there. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you explain that a bit better? I missed the beginning part. So your daughter wanted to bring treats in, and the PAC who decides what treats you can bring? So
at our school, from what I was told.
May I ask which school?
Sumas.
Okay.
So, and I mean, I was told that the PAC kind of decided at the beginning of the year, like, we don't want just any food coming in. And I understand that, like, it should come from a place where there's some, how do you want to put it? Restrictions, regulations, whatever. But because it had said a VHA approved kitchen, or what I was told it had to be a VHA approved kitchen, that's where it clicked into my mind, because she wanted to bring maple fudge that we make, that we would sell at our market. And I was like, well, technically I couldn't send that with her because it's not in a VHA approved kitchen where it was prepared, although I have my food safe and it can be sold at a market because it's a low risk product. So then in my mind, I'm going, I couldn't even shop at a farmer's market if I wanted to, if that's what the ruling is. And it might be different school to school. But I just thought it might be something to mention here, and it might be worth looking at.
So now that I think I understand better, so I would definitely talk to the PAC, because it sounds like a PAC thing, and you are a member of that PAC. So you can engage with someone privately or attend a PAC meeting, so that you can understand that better, because that's why I think you need to go, because I have not heard anything about this, but I also know that there is some real concerns about food safe, right? Making sure that, so I think that's where they're coming from, but I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Ask them, and then ask, because these kind of questions kind of have an order. So you go to sorry, they just do. Go to the if there's a teacher, it doesn't sound like it. I'd go to admin, so the principal or vice principal, if the PAC isn't giving you the right answer, and then you would go up from there. But I'm not sure exactly how to get an answer. I'd have to ask Megan.
Yeah, and I had chatted with Megan because she was just like, well, as long as it's food safe, it should be okay. But it was just this, like, because Megan had told me, she goes, I have no idea what the rules are and regulations for farmers markets. And I was like, well, maybe that's where the bridge can be made between schools or district and that stuff. It was just kind of an interesting little hiccup, I guess you would call it. Like, we sorted it out, but I just thought it was maybe something to mention since we're on the agriculture committee.
Okay, I will try to figure out who I would mention it to, but I would definitely go to the PAC, because if you can clear that up with them, then they're going to be okay for you to bring your stuff. It's just them not understanding. Am I answering your question? I hope so.
Kind of.
I'll bring it to whoever I can think to bring it to, though. Thank you for letting me know.
Amy?
I just want to say that absolutely is school by school, because my daughter literally baked a cake by herself in our kitchen and iced it by herself very dubiously and took it in, and the other kids just like hoovered it down, and as far as I know, nobody got sick. So our school seems to be okay with it. They had like a Valentine's party and they were invited to bring a treat. And so it is school by school. She goes to Alberni Elementary, and they were totally fine with it. They highlighted allergens. That's all. You had to let them know if there was like dairy in it or eggs or what was in it. But just from our perspective, Helen, something maybe to keep your ears open for is that if one PAC has started going down that road, and that's not something that's considered very reasonable or doable, or it's going to put an unnecessary hardship on people that want to bring something from a farmer's market or something like that, maybe just to keep an ear out for it becoming a precedent, where they're referencing the fact that Sumas is doing that, and they're using it as, well, we should be doing that too, out of fears about liability or something like that, just as kind of a built-in defense for farmers market products and their inherent safety, or if there's, even if you can get it so that like Tanya mentioned, there's like low risk things that you can include or something like that, I'm just worried about it becoming a precedent. They just like make it school district wide just to hedge your bets, and it's just another nail in the coffin of farm to school products and farm food at schools.
For sure I will. Sorry, and I'll just mention that I sit on the district parent advisory committee, so I'll bring it up there. There's not always a school rep from every school, but that way I'm talking to whoever attends, and then I can get a wider feeling on what they do. I know what my experience is from when I was on PAC, and it was just about being safe, but things are changing. That was a while ago.
I saw Jen. Do you have your hand up? Oh, Jen might
well, yes and no. I sort of did, but I know that there's some resources available for schools. I know that, like with the farm to school crowd, I'm sure they'd be able to sort of keep folks, connect people with those types of things, and yeah, it is opening a can of worms for sure. But I think that there are some guidelines around food safety that schools could access if they felt that that was a road that they wanted to go down. But it's sort of cutting that, making that sort of judgment call around accessibility to foods in the schools, and also acknowledging and keeping food safety in mind without getting too without it making the food actually inaccessible, because I think that the food safety piece is also an important piece to keep in mind, because you don't want to have, you don't want to make sure that the health of the kids is also being considered in and also the whole piece around the learning, both for teachers and for the students, around what food safety is and how they can do that in group settings so that everybody can feel that they're having access to foods and local foods and be able to interact and have opportunities to be in garden settings and feel that it's safe to eat food out of the garden and learn about what the foods are, but also to understand that when you're in a group that and in a public setting, that there might be some different ways of being able to keep people safe in regards to ensuring that there's food safety being taught and that people are observing the food safety and have some of the infrastructure available so that they can be food safe.
And thanks, Jen. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think Amy like summarized and was more, basically brought forward what I was trying to get to. Like I had an example of what happened at our school, but I just wouldn't want to see, it's more of the, you don't want it to be a precedent where it's inhibiting certain products from farms that could be in there. That was more my goal of just that coming forward. And I believe our next PAC meetings come up, so I will say it, I will bring it up there too. But just so I think everybody too was aware what happened, and yeah, just kind of like, yeah, trying to keep it safe for and non-inhibiting for farm products or farmers market products to potentially be in the classrooms.
Yeah, and Helen, I wonder if the question is whether this SD70 has the overriding policy that exists that would be like the umbrella for all the schools, even if they are creating their own specific policies. And then the other suggestion I have is that the, what is it, the new school district food systems working group. Amy, I know you're on that, and some of the other Anna and Jen probably, but that might be a place to bring it forward. And they are like led by Farm to School. And for something like that, that working group, if they were interested, could even like come up with an idea for a policy and then share it with SD70, which might actually make something happen rather than, you know, another something that SD70 has to start from scratch on their own. So could be a bit of a lobby to get a policy that's maybe more inclusive and supportive of local foods. Because the other thing that comes to mind for me is fresh fruits. And I know that's come up into question often, is like somebody brings in fresh fruit from their tree. Is that allowed or is it not? Does it have to go through a grocery store in order to get into school? So anyways, that's something. Go ahead, Ellen.
I'll just add that another PAC asked me something similar. There is the government website, I can't remember it all, I'm sorry, does have information about food in school. So I've read it and there was nothing that jumped out at me at the time, but there's some references to food safety and I'm not going to give you a good answer. There is a website, I read it. It doesn't really directly answer your questions or from what I remember, but I will bring it up for sure. But there is some information out there. Our school district doesn't have a specific policy. Pretty sure I know because I'm on the committee and I read all the stuff. But there's work being done in the whole food school safe thing right now. So I think we'll get even better answers in the future.
All right, thanks.
Jen? I just had one more thing, and that is Haida Gwaii has done a lot of work in that area, and they've created a number of food safety guidelines that has that with the intention of integrating local and Indigenous foods in the institutions in that area, including the school district. There's a really good continuity with the schools and their ability to access those local foods because they have put together food safety guidelines and policies that demonstrate that the food safety piece is really being addressed in being able to do that. And so I'd recommend I can put anybody into contact with the team that's out there, but they've done a lot of really innovative work and have demonstrated that there's like the full on food safety guidelines that are really robust and you can have the tracking that allows local foods being able to access to go into the schools in a way that everyone can feel really confident that it's safe, including things like what you were saying, Heather, which is like a local, like somebody's got a tree and they just like to make sure that this kids have access to the tree fruits. And I think there's some really good ways to make sure that everybody can know that is tracked in a way that it meets or exceeds a lot of the food safety regulations that are in the community.
All right, thanks, everyone. And in case you can't see the chat, I think the main thing here also is that everyone wants to try this maple fudge, and you can get it at Shannon's Farms on March 3rd. Next, Island Health. I don't think we have a rep here. And then Ministry of Agriculture and Food. Tom, do you have any updates? And you're muted.
I know. Is this thing on now?
Yes.
The tech. Yeah, as Amy mentioned, we're having a couple of workshops, decoding drought. These are jointly offered with the Ministry of Water, Lands, and Resource Stewardship, affectionately known as Walrus, to cover what the procedures are around curtailment of licensing during drought and what the data are that they use for that, and also to brainstorm ideas to help farmers prepare for what looks to be another severe drought season looming. You know, I think we're all aware that snowpack is currently at 30% of normal. I would say the drought never went away, really. In any case, there's that. So there's one in Cobble Hill and one in Courtney. The link is in the chat if you want to find out more, register. Other things happening, knowledge transfer applications are open right now through the end of February for the spring intake. And then again, there'll be another one in September. So if you have an interest in bringing in an outside speaker or holding an educational event, there is funding available. It is competitive. It tends to be fully subscribed. If you want help preparing an application, I'm glad to help you with that if need be. Agri-stability funding for people who were affected by last summer's drought, livestock producers in particular. They kept the window for applications open for the whole year this year because of the severity of last year's event. So if you're looking for help due to financial losses from the drought, there is some support available. One other highlight I want to mention is regarding preparedness for the water situation. It looks like we're going to have substantially more funding for assisting farmers with getting water storage and infrastructure of various kinds. It's not currently open, but if you keep an eye on the IAF website, there will be another opening for best management practices funding coming soon. I think that's all I have, unless there are specific questions.
Sorry, Tom, will that be one where you have to have your environmental farm plan in place?
That's the current scenario as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Jen?
I think Jen had her hand up from before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did. I'm going to take my hand down now.
Okay, any other specific questions? I'm not totally up on all the programs that might be open right now because we have so many, but farm business planning is currently open. That's the other one that leaps to mind. But always my my email and my phone are always available if you have questions about our programs. And I want to thank Amy for helping organize the water workshop that just happened and for promoting all the stuff. Much appreciated.
Bob.
Just one more thing, it's a government-related initiative is the Farmland Advantage. People were here yesterday looking at initiating a project for erosion on the riverbank, and the woman doing that said she had 5 other applications from Alberni. So that's happening here now. I would encourage anyone, if they have remediation issues on a water course, to get a hold of them. My understanding is it's going to be fully funded as far as paying her, and we went around and identified places she could harvest some red osier dogwood slips and some of that stuff here. And she also said that they were sort of looking for nonprofits that might have people that want to come and learn about that sort of thing. So there are some opportunities there.
Yeah, and I'll just pipe in here because I am the person that people should get a hold of. I've reached out to most farmers that all live on a body of water. But yeah, the process is get a hold of me or I get a hold of you. I've gone through the list of farms in the Alberni Valley and reached out to quite a few of them. So because you do have to have your farm status in order to access this, like you have to have an actual business number and more than just your farm status. You have to be a proper farm business. So
sorry, Anna, you disappeared and I didn't know you were still here. I should mention that we got onto this program through a reach out from Anna, who told us about it.
Yeah, well, I'm just happy that you actually signed up for it, because there's a lot of the farms have decided not to move forward. So.
Great, thanks. Where are we? Alberni Farmers Institute. I don't see Lisa. Is there anyone else to speak to the Farmers Institute? Amy.
Sorry, Lisa had to send her regrets as well. She had a lambing issue that she had to take care of, but she just wanted to let everyone know they had the Alberni Farmers Institute had a farm succession workshop on Saturday. Lots of questions, great info exchanged. She was hopeful that she would be here to give more of a thorough update, but she didn't make it. And so she just wanted to let everyone know that it happened and it was great. And I'm sure she can give an update next meeting on some of the information that was exchanged there. Unless was anyone here? Was anyone on the call at the workshop? No.
I wasn't there, but I wrote the initial. So just shout out to the Ministry of Ag, because this is through the KTTP grant that I wrote a year ago. So it's great that it actually happened.
Glad to hear that. Do you know who delivered that, Anna?
It was a woman from Courtney. I would have to look. My brain's like a sieve. So
yeah, I forget she had mentioned it. And I'm sorry, I forget who it was that delivered
from
it.
MNP.
Yeah.
Great. Alberni District Fall Fair. Is there anything from Anne? At all? And Anna, you're next. You gave a little update earlier. Is there anything else to add?
Oh, I think that was enough of an update. Otherwise, I just blab on. So I'll keep it short and sweet. Other than this hasn't come up yet, and that's the fact that Tessa from the Farm to School BC, Amy and myself are coordinating a learning circle, which will happen later on. Well, I guess it's, yeah, later on this month or beginning of March. I can't remember. Anyways, we've got 6 or 7 different teachers that are all we're gonna get together around school gardens. So exciting that is happening, and yeah, little things are in place. But that's it for me.
Great. Bob.
I'm gonna say my goodbyes. I've got to get ready. Randy, the fire guy, is coming shortly. So
Great.
So long, everyone.
Thanks for coming, Bob.
Okay.
Eat West Coast. Erica is not here. Is there anything from Erica? All right. And Jen, you're still here. You have anything from the Nishawala Tribal Council?
For folks to know, then there's an Indigenous Foods Conference, a gathering rather, that's being pulled together. And so that date that's coming up is March the 21st and 22nd. It'll be at the Modmuds Gym on those dates, and then some of the other grounds that are there. And we're really excited about all the folks that are coming from far and wide to attend that. So there'll be a lot of different types of workshops, quite a wide spectrum, and some really great keynote speakers. We're focusing on Indigenous folks who are engaged actively in food sovereignty. And so we're really looking forward to that coming up in the next little while.
Thanks, Jen. Portal, the Doc Plus, anything from Cecilia? And marine stakeholders, I don't see anyone here. And primary agricultural producers, does anyone else, any farmers in the bunch have anything to share? Tanya?
We just wrapped up our maple syrup season. Sarah's just doing our final boil today. We could probably go a little bit longer, but just due to other commitments, we decided to end our season. It's too bad Bob just left because we had quite a slow season this year. And I did talk to Anne a couple weeks ago. They had more than us, but a smaller amount. But our best guess is the dry summer and then such a mild winter that we just did not have a lot of sap flow. So we will have syrup for sale at our market coming up pretty quick here, but it won't be what we had in years past. But that's agriculture, you can't control the weather. And then other than that, I'm just meeting with my chef for that Gathering Graze farm dinner that we talked about at the last meeting, to get rolling there and adjust ticket prices for what we're anticipating increased costs will be for local producers and what they're going to be selling their products at. And that's kind of it. And I guess we're having a maple market at our farm on March 3rd to sell what we have. And I will be making more of the maple fudge. And I can't bring maple fudge if we're always in a Zoom meeting. But I have an in-person one for that. But no, it was quite interesting. Like I said, I'll have to connect with Bob or Ann later just to see how they felt the rest of the season was, or even, I don't know if anybody's heard from Clecoot how their season went, but we noticed it was drastically slower than the last few years. And that's it.
I have a few taps out, Tanya, and very little coming out of them. So similar.
Yeah. I think my neighbor just ended his tapping season. He had a pretty good flush the last few days, like after it cooled down and warmed up again. That was really new.
Yeah, we had a good run after we had that big freeze in January when it thawed up, but then it thawed up so warm so quickly, it kind of dried up pretty quick. And then this past week, we actually pulled all our taps to properly clean the lines and everything, and then put them back in when we were getting like freezing or just below freezing at night. But so we collected like 250 liters the last couple of days, but it might be okay the next week. But like I said, like we're out of town this weekend and some stuff. So there's other factors are ending our season a little bit early, but definitely not what it was. So hopefully, fingers crossed for next winter.
All right. Thank you. Oh, Tom, go ahead.
I'll put my producer hat on for one moment. We're getting ready to install an additional like 25,000 gallons of storage using accessing IAF cost match. So I know sometimes people complain about how onerous the environmental farm plan is and accessing money that way, but if you're patient and you keep at it, it sometimes comes through, and I'm really grateful to have that support to be able to. It's not as much water as we would like. Like we're on the Solom. We had a curtailment last summer if we weren't growing forage, so it didn't really impact our nursery operation. For those of you who don't know, I have a small wholesale nursery But with this storage, we'll be able to grow about maybe 50% of our peak production, even if all of our water was shut off. We'd still be able to water, like 7,000 plants in gallon pots on drip lines for the driest part, August, September. So that's where, just a thought to give a little update on from the personal side.
Is that a dugout, Tom, that you're putting in?
We're putting in more tanks. We have one rainwater capturing tank. We also can fill it from our well. We looked into a dugout, but the footprint compared to the size of our land, the cost compared to the returns, it didn't seem to make sense. We'd have to line it to be able to access the water when we really want it anyhow. So at least under the current scenario, a dugout doesn't really fit our needs.
So you're getting like 8 tanks?
Yep.
Huh.
We have one, we're getting 7 more.
Did you get a volume discount on those?
We have a local farm store that gives us the best price. I think we got another 10% perhaps for the ordering so many, but I don't remember. Don't quote me on that, but they've always beat the other suppliers on the island, and they deliver, so no cost.
I actually wasn't sure that the BMPs would cover like tanks either. I mean, is it above a certain volume?
I think you have to justify it for the scale of your operation. But my wife Haley handled the application, so I'm not sure exactly what all the hoops were.
Okay, that's good to know. Amy, you have your hand up.
I just had a question for Tanya, just to get an idea of what the yield is per tree. So you got 250 liters. How many trees are you tapping to get that?
So that was over 4 days. We collected every 36 hours or so, just with weather temperatures, because you don't want it to get warm. I believe we had in the realm of like 60 taps out for that.
Cool. That's good to know. Thanks.
Yeah,
60. That's
60. Yeah. No, but I mean, like in years past where we had 60 taps out, we'd be getting 250 liters like a day, versus it took 4 days to get that on this one little stretch of where it was actually flowing okay.
That's not worth the time and effort to, I know, that many buckets with a gallon of sap in each of them.
Yeah, I mean, we need about, like we need about 60 liters of sap to make 1 liter of syrup. And I mean, we're on a bucket system, like we have taps with drops and we check buckets. It's easy to clean and maintain that way. I'd be really interested to see how the season went for Clecoop, because they do like lines that are tied into another line to go to a big collection tank, to see how that is in this warmer weather, because you get yeast and stuff built up in there and it's just can be tricky.
Thank you. Go ahead, Amy.
I just wanted to, I apologize, but it looks like we haven't updated our template to include 4-H updates or youth updates, and that's Patty is over here representing 4-H. So I just wanted to remind you to let her give her update as well before we end.
Yeah. And I'll just add something first, because I had a message from the Beaver Creek Community Hall Association. I guess they're hosting a homesteading market on Saturday, June 15th from 11 till 3 p.m. So I think that's the first time there's been a homestead market, and they're looking for vendors and skills sharing and knowledge sharing about all things homesteading, which could be kind of neat if there's anyone interested, or if the ACRD or any other organizations are interested in putting together a table with some demonstrations or skills or products for sale, anything like that.
I'll just say this is the 2nd annual homesteading market. They had their first one last year, and I know that Nicole Steinbeck is the one organizing it, and that the Food Security Society will be there.
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. And Patty from 4-H.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Not too much to report yet. Registration's still underway, and it's been a little slow. It all has to be done electronically through the provincial BC 4-H office now, but it's slowly coming together. We had a bunch of meetings planned for February, but we had to cancel them or postpone them because we can't meet until everybody's registered and covered by 4-H insurance. So it's coming along. We now officially have 8 leaders registered and 14 members. I think there's one more leader and about 6 kids that we're still waiting on. So we've got a bunch of events planned in March, and we're starting to get together some fundraising. We're going to have hopefully manure sales at both of the farmers markets in May. That's ongoing planning. And we've had a couple of leaders meetings. We do have a public Facebook page that's up and running now, so I'll send that information to Amy. It's got all the contact information, so if anybody's got a youth that's interested in 4-H, they can get a hold of us and get them registered, because we can take new registrations at any time, and we would welcome anybody.
That's fantastic. So we'll share around that Facebook page too when we get the link. That's it for reports. Can we get a motion that the ADC accepts the reports for information? Thank you, Helen. And is there a seconder? Tanya, all in favor? Motion carried. Is there any late business? Anything anyone wants to add? Hang on, let me check this chat. And are there any questions or comments from the public?
Nope, there are no questions in the email or in the chat section for the Zoom.
All right. If there's nothing else, then I will adjourn the meeting at 10:52. Thanks everyone for coming. And our next meeting is Tuesday, March 19th at 9:30 via Zoom.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a good month.
All right.
See you.
Bye,
Thanks.
everyone. Thanks for all the info.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.